Good evening. I hope that you had a wonderful week. We're going to speak some more about leadership, and we're going to speak about leadership structure. One of the things that I began to think about in my years of work, I've done a lot of work with engineers and engineering and construction. One of the things that I got to notice was that the taller a building is, the more you have to dig down into the ground to secure the building's foundation. We need to talk some more about foundations. And those of you who have seen me teach before know that I love acronyms, and I love acronyms just because they help people to remember things. And so let's start to talk about the leadership structural base and your core. Basically, your core is what keeps your body steady. We think it's our knees and our legs and all of that, but if our spine collapses or our pelvis collapses, we can't stand up straight. And so the core is really, really important. It prevents back injury, it stabilizes your spine, it supports your spine and your pelvis. But then the other definition, in fact, the first one, when you look up on dictionary.com, the first one, it says it's the central part of a fleshy fruit and it contains the seeds. And I had to laugh because I said, well, we're fleshy fruit. And the central part, you'll see as I speak about the core, does contain the seeds for us. And then, of course, the generic meaning is the central innermost part of anything, the most essential part. And so that is what the core means. But now we're going to start to talk about not the physical core, but the intangible core, which is your personal core. Again, your fundamental, innermost, physically intangible parts. And those are the parts that hold up the inner you. There are three of them, essentially. First, there's the mental and the intellectual, what you think, your ability to learn, what you do with your mind. Then there's the emotional, what you feel and what makes you feel and how you express those feelings. And then there's the spiritual, and that's the part that reaches out to us for more. And one of the issues with what's reaching out to us for more is the fact, what we're reaching out to for more is the fact that even for people who don't have a religious base, who say that they're agnostic or that they're atheist, they are reaching out for more. A lot of times we don't see it until they're in crisis, but they too are reaching out for more because as human beings, that's part of who we are. We are three-part beings. The spiritual is a part, the spirit is a part, and whether we want to admit it or not, we're reaching out for more, much more frequently than we think. And core has, I have the four letters assigned to core. The first one is your calling. We hear a lot about calling nowadays, as opposed to career. There is something that you do that when you do it, you feel God. And now we're going to go on to O, and that is the right to own your life. And that's going to take a lot of discussion. It's the right, though, to own your life, because many of us don't actually own our lives. And I'll explain more about that. The R are your relationships, your closest relationships, because those are the people that support you, your ride or die people, and they are the ones who help to cover your inner organs, your inner feelings. And then the E stands for our ethical standards and our practices ethically. And we're going to start with talking about calling. What work do you feel most comfortable doing? Think about what you feel most comfortable doing, and it may not be what you're educated to do, and it may not be what you do to make a living. And then I want to revisit some of the areas that we spoke about last week. because your calling does involve your values, and you need to look at your strengths, and you need to think about your successes, because a lot of times you're successful in the areas where you were called. And then the last thing that I want you to discuss in the breakout section is what is unique about you. Now, I will tell you that most of the time you don't see what is unique about you. Other people see it, they tell you that you do it well, and you don't really think about it. You're like, oh yeah, of course, everybody does that. But no, everybody doesn't do that. Everybody does not do that. The next thing we're going to talk about is the O, and that is owning your life. Now, those of us who are from faith traditions know that we are not our own, but owning your life means that we need to think in terms of who makes our important choices. Whose instructions are we following? Are they following instructions that we feel that we heard from the Lord, or are we following what people say? In terms of your opinions, are you forming your own opinions, or are you allowing other people to cause your opinions to be formed without you even thinking? And then who is telling you what to do in your life? Okay, which has a lot to do with instructions. And I think of, and we see this a lot with women, especially, and we see it a lot in the church, but we see it in other places too, where a woman wants to do something, and then she kind of turns around and she looks at someone else to see if what she wants to do is okay. And then choices in terms of your career, in terms of your education. There comes a point, though, that you have to stand up and you have to own your life. And then, are you forming your own opinions? Now, sometimes that's a matter of fear, and sometimes it's a matter of just being lazy, that we're not doing the research, that we're not doing the reading, that we're not looking at both sides of the issue, because it's just easier to say, oh, what they said, that's what I believe. But that can land you in a lot of hot water ultimately. So it's important to form your own opinions about things. And then again, what is it that you're going to do in life? I've seen it as a college professor. There are so many students who are in programs because their parents want them to do it. Now, relationships. Our primary relationship, again, because we are people of faith, our primary relationship is with God. But as I said in the opening, in addition to our primary relationship being with God, we have a relationship with ourselves. And most of us don't think about that. When we talk about having a relationship with yourself, that sounds a little weird, but you do have to have a relationship with yourself. You need to be settled in who you are and understanding what you want, and really, really being in tune with what pleases you and gives you joy. All right. And there's a difference between joy and happiness. Joy is what we have inside of us all the time. Happiness is circumstantial. We can be happy about an event or sad about an event, but we want to always have joy. So being in a good relationship with yourself is important. Then your relationships with your closest family. Now, your closest family may be in close proximity to you or not, or the people who are the family members who are closest to you may be your closest family. And then your relationships with your closest friends. Again, we all know a lot of people, and our people should fall into three rings. The first ring, after our family is what I call the ride or die people. The people who maybe who your kids can call if you have children when there's an emergency and the kids can't find you. In my case, because I'm single and I live alone, the two friends who have the keys to my apartment and can come in here whenever they want. those are your closest friends, the people who know the things about you that nobody else will know and who are not going to share those things. Those are your closest friends. And those relationships need to be well aligned and reasonably stress free. Now, no relationship is fully stress free because we are human and there's a degree of stress that comes along with dealing with any human being. But they need to be stress free. Now, it's very interesting because I had, just about 5 years ago, I had a family member who I was really in very close proximity to. And the relationship was absolutely not stress free. And I ultimately had to break away from that relationship. And that was a very, very difficult thing for me to do. And so think in those kinds of terms. Think about your relationship with God. That should be strengthening you. Your relationship with yourself should be strong. You should know who you are and be sure of who you are. Your relationship with your closest family and your closest friends, all of those should be aligned. Our last thing is the ethics. And ethics are the moral principles that, the definition is they're the moral principles that govern human behavior, just the common things. Some of us would call it manners, some of us would call it common sense, some of us would call it fairness, but it's the definition of what is right and wrong. But my question to you is, how will your personal code of ethics help you to lead yourself and help you to lead others? Things like don't lie. In fact, oh my goodness, my parents were like nuts about lying and stealing. That helps me. I mean, if it means that I have to lie, I'm not going to lie. Okay. If it means that I have to take something that does not belong to me, I am not going to take it. It's just not that important. And so that helps me lead myself. And it also helps me to lead others because it sets a standard. Now, my question is this: have ethics ever been a challenge? And a challenge in this way. I have had people who I've worked with who want you to do something simple, like somebody calls and they don't want to talk to them and they say, well, tell them I'm not here. Okay. And I would never do that. I would say to the person who's calling, I'm sorry, but so and so isn't available. And they would say, are they there? And I would say, yes, they are here, but they're not available. And you need to find a way around that. But don't ever allow yourself to be placed in a situation by anyone where you're lying. Okay. Lying could cost you your life. Lying could cost you your career. And it's just not worth it. Let's talk more about relationships. And we talked about relationships with ourselves earlier, but I'd like to do this. I'd like to talk about how our relationships with ourselves affects our confidence and our confidence in our ability to do something, especially if it's something new or something different like leadership or leading a new team or a new initiative. Our dreams and our visions for ourselves. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you're going to dream too small. Your vision is going to be tiny. Whereas if you have a good relationship with yourself, you're settled on who you are, you're settled on what your values are and what it is you want to do with your life, you'll have a much bigger dream, a much bigger and more encompassing vision. And then your goals will be big as well. And we're going to talk about vision describes your destination. Goals plot your path to your destination, how you're going to achieve your vision. Both of them are based in your core elements, your calling, your ownership, your relationship, your ethics. So let's think about our visions today. When you are doing your vision, I want you to remember from last week that you are enough. You are valuable. You are valuable. You are significant. You have unique strengths. You have a track record of successes, and you are immeasurable and incomparable. And what I want to say with that is that nobody can compare to you. I don't know if anybody here is an identical twin or has or knows identical twins, but again, identical twins don't have the same fingerprints. And so there's even a difference there. And you are immeasurable. Nobody can measure you or compare you with anybody else because there's something different and outstanding about you. Even if you don't measure up to where they are in one area, they don't measure up to where you are in another. So that's very important. This method was literally downloaded to me. And it's called the 777 method. And it's 7 areas to consider when you're crafting your personal vision, 7 questions to ask yourself about each area. And then we're going to talk before it's all over about 7 ways to actually achieve what it is that you want. We're going to start with one more acronym, and it is special because you are special. And the areas that you're going to consider when you're writing your vision are the sacred or the spiritual, the physical, your body, your weight, your health, the emotional. Do you have issues with your temper? Do you refuse to stand up and confront? When someone confronts you, are you the person who sits down and maybe cries or who balls up and goes into a corner and doesn't respond? Are you the person who just refuses to feel? You just steel yourself against everything. Who are you emotionally and where do you want to be? Who are you physically? Now, our career and our calling. The intellectual, what are you doing with your mind? What are you, life is so stressful. Sometimes we want to get home. We want to just collapse in front of the TV. We don't want to think about anything, but that's the worst thing that we can do for ourselves. My goal for this year is a book a week, and I'm already 5 books behind. So I have some catching up to do. Then financially, what are your goals for your accounts? Are you planning to invest a certain amount of money? And then finally, your relationships, what I call living with others. These are the 7 areas that your vision should be centered around. You might even want to write a short vision for each area. And then for each area, there are 7 questions that I want you to answer. I'll give you a sample with me, with the physical. Where am I now? I am 55 pounds too heavy. Okay. And I'm beginning to have more joint issues because of it. Am I okay with where I am? No. Where do I want to be on December 31st? I want to lose that 55 pounds. I want to not only lose the weight, but I want to be in shape. I want to be able to go out dancing and not hurt for 3 days when it's all over. That's where I want to be on December 31st. Can I clearly write out the vision for that area? Yes, I've spoken it so I can write it out. And now this is the deal. Am I willing to change and to be inconvenienced to get where I want to go? I don't know about that yet. I have to think about that. To change means that I can't have dessert every day. And right about now, that's what I'm doing. Am I willing to be inconvenienced? I don't know. I have to think about that. I really do. What specific steps do I need to take to get there? Number one, I have to get all the sugar out of my apartment. And specific steps, I will do the exercise, absolutely. I'll get on the bike, I'll do the walking, I'll do the in-home walking. So I'm willing to do that. The other thing is sleep. Sleep plays, for any of you trying to lose weight, sleep plays a big part in weight loss. And I don't sleep well. And I'm trying to do that. And then how can I grow myself to get there? It means that I have to pay a lot more attention to what videos that I can find and books that I can find and health programs that I can find. And the other thing is that I may need a coach. 7 ways to achieve your vision. The first is to journal daily to track your progress so that you can track your progress. The other, and we've heard a lot of that this evening, is accountability to others. And a third way is to speak affirmations daily. And when you speak of what you want, you speak of it as if it's in the present tense. It's not that you're lying to yourself. It is just that you are speaking to yourself and saying, I'm on track to lose 55 pounds by the end of August. I look forward to the 55 pounds and being thinner and being a size 14, 16 once again in my life. I am happy to be a size 14, 16 once again in my life. So I'm speaking of that as though it's a reality. And then I'm adding things to it like, I've been given the spirit. I was born with the spirit. I was born again with the spirit of power and love and self-control and a sound mind. So I am well able to lose this 55 pounds. So those are some of the ways that you might do that. Also watch the words that swirl around you. Sometimes people say things to us that are really not appropriate. We say things to ourselves that we would not say to a friend. Don't speak about yourself in negative terms. Whatever you do, speak of yourself positively, or don't say anything at all. And don't let others speak about things negatively to you. The next thing is to develop a sense of urgency. And I learned this from John Maxwell's Change Your World book. Before you get up in the morning, think about what it is you want to do, and 50 times say, just do it. And I lay there and I'm like, just do it, just do it, just do it. Girl, you know you can do it. Girl, get up. When you get up, just go ahead and do it. And I do it. And I'm counting on my fingers while I'm saying it. And you could do it in like 2 minutes. But when you get up, it's like you jump up and you've got all this energy and you're ready to go. So, and if you can do 2 sets of it, you know, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, you don't want to do it before you go to bed because that's not good. You'll be too hyped up to sleep. Then think time. Take think time, 15 to 30 minutes daily. Just sit down, think about your day, think about how you're feeling. Be present in the moment where you are. And then the last thing is to create a vision board. I would like to encourage you to do a vision board, but you're not just going to put pictures on a board. You're going to explain why those pictures are important. And you're going to do the board and then hang it up somewhere in your house where, or your room or in the bathroom or wherever it is, you're going to see it every day so that you can look at it and you can take a couple of minutes and look at it, because what we look at is where we go. What we continually look at is where our lives are going. So that, my ladies, is it. I thank you for attending today's masterclass. It was wonderful.